You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari, and we're so excited to have you here today. We're talking about having ambition in life. Now, sometimes you might be ambitious in your career, or you want to find that love of your life and start dating, or get into that gym and start working out. Or maybe you're just ambitious to have a yummy dinner, right? It can be the most complex to the most simple. But today we're looking to find where in your life are you the most ambitious, or are you feeling like you're kind of lacking that drive and you're wondering how to tap into that and kind of get yourself into overdrive in terms of speeding up your life? Well, let's tackle all that together. Also, we're going to be joined in our next segment by our inspirational guest, Tressler, who, boy, he has had a long life of different ins and outs of dealing with alcohol to a learning disability to having a grandfather that had a very criminal background and growing up in that belonging. So it's a really interesting story that I think will just fascinate you, but also inspire you. And we want to make sure that beyond today's show that you stay empowered. So always feel free to go to livingfullout.com and go to our radio page. And all of our episodes are there, and they're all by different categories. So whatever you're dealing with in your life, pick the one that's the most applicable. Also, if you have Alexa, or if you're on the go and you can go in the App Store, just look for Living Full Out Radio. And we want to make sure that you can tap into this motivation anytime you need. And when we talk about ambition today, again, no question is too big or too small, because everybody's going to have variations of, where they are in their life and how their confidence level is and what they want. Some people are more hungry for the big apple, and some people just want a little slice of that apple, and that's okay too. Now, I'm getting word from our producer that we do have a listener on the line. Let's go say hello to them. Hi, welcome to Living Full Out Show.
Hi, my name is Sheri, and I'm from Boston. And
well, hi, Sheri from Boston. Yes.
My question is, how do you deal with kind of just anxious thoughts and just about how things are uncertain in the future with the whole pandemic? It's really hard to personally be a huge planner, and I always think about the future, so COVID has made this really difficult.
And I'm curious, Sheri, what part of it stresses you out the most? Is it being disconnected from family and friends? Is it financial uncertainty? Is it job uncertainty? Which part of it is the one that kind of gnaws at you the most?
I think it's definitely the social aspect, because I am a really extroverted person and I value spending time with others, and it's really hard not to see people face to face and kind of balance everything out with technology. So
yeah, I'm with you. I'm a hugger. I'm a big time hugger. And it was almost a big laugh for me this year, because I always have a mantra word in my mantra year for 2020 that my word was connection, and it was anything less than, right? Because you couldn't touch people or hug people. Now, I'm just curious. Right. Sounds like you've tapped into technology, which is great. But how often do you really plug in with those that you love? Do you talk to them daily, weekly?
I'd say weekly.
Weekly? Okay.
Yes.
So the thing about connection, and it's great when everybody lives in the same city, and even if we were to go back in time and everything was normal, even back in the normal times, right? Somebody was bound to move away. Somebody was bound to go to an away college or get a job transfer. So there still has always been that ability for someone to not to be distant, or sometimes we lose somebody we love and they pass away, right? And there's that loss. So that disconnection actually has always been around. It's just now it's just been such a instant, like the car stopping really fast, right? Right? So what I invite you to think about And I know you said earlier that you're not a planner, but let's try to plan just a little bit. And what I want you to think about is whatever number feels good to you. 1, 3, 5. Okay, pick a number. And let's just say it's 3. Then I want you to pick 3 people that you will text every day. Every day, 3 different people. Could be 1 if that's too many. Now, if you don't want to do it daily, do it weekly. But what the advice I'm giving is the same. I'm just going to give it to you for let's just to say it's weekly. Let's say it's 3 people that you text weekly. And you could reminisce about the good old days. You could tell them how proud you are of them. You could ask them how their day's going. But it's just one way of communicating. Then I want you to pick 3 people that you will email in the week. Now with email, it's a little different than texting, right? You can write a little bit more. You can send a picture, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
And then if you can, pick 3 people that you'll Zoom or FaceTime and actually see them. And maybe 3 people that you meet in person. I'm going with the number 3, but it could be 1, could be 2. Pick what's comfortable for you. Pick it daily, pick it weekly. But when you do this, you will actually create a habit where you are connecting with people. You don't feel so distant. It's great that you've already embraced technology, and I know you're missing those hugs, those high fives, that quality time. But we just have to find quality time in a different way. And it's less about being with somebody and more about being invested in someone. So when we're with somebody and we're face to face and we're sitting next to him, we tend to have more enriching conversations, meaningful conversations, maybe expose part of ourselves because we're with them, we're there. But you actually can do that remotely. But it has to be intentional. And that might be, if you have nothing to say and you're in a really good place, then it might be asking that person, hey, how's your week going? How is that job? How's dating been going? And sometimes by taking the focus off of your stresses, what you're lacking or missing in life, which is that distance, sometimes by investing in other people and being really like all in on their life, it takes the spotlight off the pain of the disconnection. Do you see that?
Yeah, I really like that idea. Thank you.
Yeah, because you're still going to feel, it's all awkward. We're all in it together, right? It's just awkward. It can be lonely. I get it. But what I did is I intentionally have picked up the phone more than I ever have. I send text messages every day. And although it hasn't been the same face-to-face time, it's still been enriching. I feel very plugged in. I'm in the know of my friends' lives, right? Because I'm doing it every day, something. So I think you should try that. And I think you'll be surprised that, it'll be just as enriching, just different. Okay?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
I love that she asked that question because we're talking today about ambition. But sometimes being connected with people, we have ambition to do that, right? And when I say intentional, like I said to that last listener, you do have to be intentional with things that you do in life. Intentional with eating right, working out, calling people, texting people, emailing an e-card, right? There's so many cute e-cards out there that could lift someone's spirits, or a music card that can be delivered by email. This is the time to get creative in life. This is the time to connect with people in ways we haven't. Maybe even a good old-fashioned letter, write someone a love letter, send them poetry, whatever. And also a care package. I love care packages, and I bet your friends or your family would as well. And then when we talk about ambition today, you want to think about, how can I open up my world? What am I doing now that's good? But what could I do if I up the ante? If I just open up, part the clouds a bit, think bigger. We could communicate better. We might find ways that we can become more educated. We might find ways in which we now carve out time to practice hobbies. Maybe it's getting back to the piano if it's been years, or finally learning Spanish, right? So if we look at this time that we're in, this pandemic time, if we look at it as a negative, it will be. But if we look at it as a way of getting ambitiously resourceful, tapping into new methods, well, then there you go. You're surging, you're growing, and you're not missing a beat. So stay with us. We're coming right back with Nelson Tressler sharing his story about how he went for really tough beginnings, yet ambition got him all the way to be retired at a young age. I'm telling you, it's a great story. Stay with us. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back after this break. Stay tuned.
Hi, professional skateboarder Tony Hawk here with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you'll have the energy to skate through anything.
Nice play on words, Doc.
That's how I roll, Bugs. So whether you like to work the half pipe,
now that's catching air,
kick the soccer ball around, or dance in your room,
just move it your way.
For an hour a day.
The way you like to move, as long as you're moving.
Carve out some time every day and get active. Because it's time to do a 180 on what you think exercise is.
Because it can be whatever you want it to be. So be a player.
Be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
At www.letsmove.gov. Let's hear that one more time, Doc. That's www.letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
I'm Nancy Solari, Certified Life and Business Coach. I want to invite you to the Personal Development Boot Camp. During the boot camp, we're going to be looking at taking those insecurities that you have and getting rid of them. We're also going to look at ways in which you can thrive and live a life full of purpose. Go to livingfullout.com/bootcamp, livingfullout.com/bootcamp to sign up. I believe in you, and here's to you living your life full out.
I'm Sarah, and this is my story.
I'm Ellen, and this is my story.
One night, I was at a bar.
I
was having fun with my friends.
I
had one too many drinks.
I
got behind the wheel to go home.
I got a cab to go home.
All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, a squirrel ran across the road. It happened so quickly, I barely had time to react.
The cabbie barely had time to react.
I swerved.
The cab swerved.
I can't believe it. I hit a guy.
I cannot believe it. The cabbie just missed a guy.
I wish I took a cab.
Thank goodness I took a cab.
You have the choice to save a life. Don't drive buzzed. It's a decision you'll never regret. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you think depression is all in a person's head, you're right. It's a brain illness. And like other illnesses, it has symptoms. Depression can make those who suffer from it feel hopeless. It can even lead to suicide. Learn how to stop depression from taking another life. Call SAVE, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education, 1-888-511-SAVE, on the web at save.org.
I'm Alec Baldwin. Like any parent, I'm concerned about children's health. Many kids don't eat as they should and are at risk for long-term health problems like diabetes and heart disease. But here's good news. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and other low-fat vegetarian foods can protect our kids and keep the rest of the family healthy too. For a free booklet, call the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine at 1-877-685-KIDS or visit www.kidsgethealthy.org.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. With Nancy's expertise, you'll learn how to embrace your potential and strive for success. If you have a question or need further support, send us an email at connect@livingfullout.com. Now, here's Nancy.
Thank you for joining us today. I am Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about having ambition in life. And sometimes in order to get that clarity and know what you're shooting for, you kind of have to get rid of the clutter. You kind of have to go through the weeds, go through the trenches, discover things about your past you wish you didn't know. But even those hard times in our life can develop us into who we are today. And we try to always bring inspirational guests that are a great example of living full out in life. And today we've got another great one for you, Nelson Tressler. And he's going to share with us, how he did come from, tricky, difficult, abusive beginnings, but yet he was ambitious and found his stride and excelled. And we're going to learn how he did that. So I'd like to welcome Nelson to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. I appreciate it.
Oh, happy to have you. Happy to have you. Now, the interesting thing is there's so much to your story about, all the years that you had control over where the ambition did kick in. But you always kind of grew up in the shadows of a couple dark times amongst your family that you had no control over. Can you just share with our Living Full Out family here? Can you just kind of share with us what you grew up in, what you were born into?
Sure. Yeah, well, my mom became pregnant with me when she was 15 years old. And while she was pregnant with me, her father, the local trash collector, shot two police officers, killing one and wounding another. And, during his murder trial, which he was being brought up on the death penalty, my mom testified to the jury that the reason that her father, my grandfather, had shot and killed that police officer was that police officer had raped my mom, and she was now, pregnant with his baby. And so at that trial, it ended in a hung jury because of my mom's testimony. And then eventually my grandfather was tried again. This time they took the death penalty off the table and found him guilty, and he served life in prison without the possibility of parole. And this was in a small town of 6,000 people, so everybody knew everybody's business. So, he went away to jail and then left behind me and my mom, and then he had 15 other children. So in this small town to deal with those circumstances.
Yeah, people knew the Tresslers.
Yep.
And your mom, she got a tough shake in life. She was so young. You were young, she was young. But probably in her desire to try to have a better life, when she was in her early 20s, she met a man named Jim. And he was abusive, but he didn't just abuse her, he abused you. What was the atmosphere of that relationship like for you?
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, my life got worse after that. Once my mom married Jim, I was just looking for a positive role model and was happy when my mom married him. But, quickly we realized, he was abusive to me and my mom, almost on a daily basis. And it was very abusive, and, a lot with my mom and me, where he was an alcoholic, had a very bad temper, and he would come home and it was just a matter of which one of us was going to, feel his wrath. So very, very miserable times. And my mom definitely took the brunt of it. So we both kind of lived through that together.
Well, and 12 went on to be a really big year for you, and in positive ways and negative ways. But we'll talk about the negative first because, you discovered around that time the whole story and that the police officer wasn't your dad. Then who is my dad? And then you have Jim, who's abusive. And I'm just wondering, at 12, that's already such an awkward age, and you're trying to protect your mom, your siblings. weight of the world on your very young shoulders. How did you cope during that time?
Well, at that time, things even got worse because Jim was walking home drunk from a bar one night, and there was somebody else who was driving home drunk from that bar, and they ended up hitting and killing Jim. And by this time, I have three brothers and a sister, and my mom is there. She has no education. She has no way to care for this family, and now she's left alone, even as bad as the relationship with Jim was, but now she's just hopeless to raise 5 children on her own. So it was at that time that she decided that she wanted to take her own life. And so she attempted suicide, and thankfully she was not successful. But at that time, she realized that she couldn't care for all 5 of these kids by herself. So she ended up splitting the family up. My youngest sister, who was 6 months at the time, went to live with my aunt, and then I went to live with my grandmother, the wife of the man who shot and killed the police officers. And it was at that time that I, for once, had kind of a stable life. I had to be in at a certain time, and every night, you had things that you had to do with my grandmother. And for the first time, I started wondering what I wanted for my life. And that's when I started to realize, I didn't want to live this life. I didn't want my family to live this life. And so I set my first big goal, and that was to be the first person in my family to graduate from college. And time...
And Jim, and I know Jim's passing and everything was tricky, and it was, just a really horrible time. But what I think is so interesting about that goal that you set for yourself is that was birthed from an assembly at your school. Go Assemblies, right?
Yeah.
and that's very interesting. And, just being able to have that kind of mature look on life at 12 as to, hey, listen, it's up to me. I need to take care of my mom, not her taking care of me. I got to take care of Graham, not her taking care of me. I think it's impressive that you had, that maturity. And so, I mean, where one begins, is kind of the rest of your story.
Right. I was part of the Big Brother, Big Sister program at this time. So my big brother, who was going to school at Penn State, kind of gave me some contrast of what life could be. And once I kind of saw that contrast, I think that kind of opened my eyes to the way the rest of the world was, or the way, the world could be. So contrast, I think, is a very important thing. And I think that's what ended up opening up my eyes, is like I could have a life like that.
Well, I love that. And today, Nelson, we're talking about ambition. So this is right when ambition kicked into overdrive for you. So stay with us, everybody. We're going to come back with Nelson's story, continuing on as to how he got to where he is today. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey, but people in this town call me Maniac. They call me that because I'm the fastest runner in town. But just because everyone knows who I am doesn't mean I belong. I don't really belong anywhere. You see, I'm an orphan, and I wander the streets just looking for a place that I can truly call home. My name is Maniac McGee, and I'm all alone. Explore new worlds. Read my story in the novel Maniac McGee by Jerry Spinelli. For other great book ideas, visit your local library or log on to literacy.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Look for the bare necessities.
The bare necessities of healthy living are easier than you think.
You better believe it.
And the food pyramid shows you the way with just the right amount of exercise and the necessary grains, vegetables, fruits, milk, and meats and beans.
Just the bare necessities of life.
So eat right, be active, and have fun.
Yeah, man.
For your own path to a healthier you, visit mypyramid.gov.
This is really living.
This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Nancy Solari, host of the Living Full Out Show. I am excited to let you know that we are now associated with Alexa. If you have Alexa in your house and you didn't know that, go ahead and find Living Full Out because you can hear us anytime you want, and we're there for you to keep you motivated. Go to your app store because we're located there as well. Just look for the Living Full Out radio show. It's important to us that we put out really inspiring programming, but we want to make sure that you have it at your fingertips when you need us most. We never know when those challenges are going to come, when we're going to feel lonely and need that motivation. So just know that when you need us, we're here for you. Check out Alexa, the app stores, or go to livingfullout.com. Here's to you living full out.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a life coach, Nancy can teach you how to stay strong under pressure and work through challenges you face. Being legally blind, Nancy inspires others to be resilient in overcoming obstacles and live full out. You can ask Nancy for advice in your life on relationships, finance, business, health, and more. Just call in at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. Now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about having ambition in life, but sometimes that's easier said than done, right? We have circumstances that are handed to us for our family, or we get a tough shake in life, but we always strive to bring the inspirational guests that give you that hope, show you that, good is possible, that your dreams can come true. So I'd very much like to welcome our guest today, Nelson Tressler, back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Nelson, it's good that you found that goal for yourself to go to college, and it's good that you had some mentors, Big Brother program. But, just when you would think, okay, finally life is going to go, smooth, you also had a learning disability. So although you were talented at football, you're kind of embarrassed about that. And why was that?
Yeah, when you're young, it's hard to be different. And I definitely was different my whole entire life, with the circumstances of my birth. We were, with all this abuse, we were also dirt poor. So, the bad haircuts and the ripped clothes and, all of that. And then to put on top of that, that you have a learning disability and you can't perform at the level of all the other kids is hard. I mean, being a teenager is hard enough, and then throw on a few differences, and it makes it feel like it's almost impossible.
Yeah, and it's already, again, kind of awkward times in those teenage years, let alone, having to go to special ed to deal with your learning disability. And, you did make friends. Obviously, you're very sociable and kind, although you had, a lot of pressures at a young age. And you did actually get to go to school for college and try to play sports and do all that. But kind of the ugliness of paying for college started to creep into your life. And tell us about that experience and how you kind of navigated that.
Yeah, so fortunately, I mean, my grades were not good. Once I set a goal to become the first person in my family to graduate from college, I started to do my best and started to study and actually do my homework. And eventually, by the end of 10th grade, they give you a test in special ed every year to see where you're at. And by the end of 10th grade, I was able to pass out of special ed. So I didn't need those services anymore. And so in 11th and 12th, I was taking normal classes and even taking some college prep courses. And so eventually, I was a pretty good athlete, and I had a couple of schools looking at me for football. And, most of them were turned off when they saw your grades. They want to see great grades. Mine were not. But I had one school that wanted me to go there. And eventually I ended up going and playing football for them and attending college. But what I realized was it was an expensive school. And even though I could get a lot of grants and got a few scholarships out of high school, by the end of my first semester, I still owed $1,000. And then by the end of the second semester, I owed like $3,500. And there was no way that I was ever going to be able to afford to go to school. My gram was living on Social Security. She was making $4,800 a year. So what I ended up doing was, kind of like we have to do with a lot of our goals, is putting it on hold or finding a different route. And so I ended up joining the United States Air Force on the GI Bill in order to find a way to get money to go to school. And it also got me out of the town where I had so much luggage and baggage with my last name and the situation of my birth and my grandfather. So it was a good thing for me.
Well, and again, talking about ambition today, I could see that new momentum, positive, this new shift. You can be the man that you want to be. And you were really starting to step into that. And you, in fact, met your today wife during those years, right? You guys have been together now, 20 years? Long time?
25.
25? Oh, my goodness. Wow, time flies. But that's amazing, right? But even that wasn't easy, because anytime we get married young in life, that's not easy. But you did eventually find a little bit of an entrepreneurial bug in kind of your window business. What was that one?
Yeah, so I got married and then ended up getting out of the Air Force after 4 years. I had the GI Bill and started going to college in Las Vegas, where my wife was from. And her father was a dentist, and we ended up living with them as I got out of the Air Force, waiting to go to school and waiting to find a place for us to live. And it was Christmas time, and somebody had painted a bunch of, the paint on the windows for Christmas with the snowman and things, and ended up meeting him for lunch, and he was talking about the people never came back to take it off of his windows. And I'm like, you know what, I'll go in there and do that. I was waiting for school to start, and I hadn't found a job yet. And so I went in there and took that stuff off of his windows, and I kind of looked up and down the street at all the other storefronts, and I'm like, you know what, a person could make a pretty decent living doing this and set their own hours and really provide for their family. So, those bells and whistles, that aha moment was going off. And so I went out, got some flyers, got some cards, and started going around to all the other shopkeepers in Las Vegas, seeing if I could wash their windows, and the window cleaning business was born, and it got me and my family, through school, and it was a perfect fit.
I love the entrepreneurial mind, and that story just inspires me. And, you could have kept doing that, but the ambition within you kept wanting you to go further. And I know you wanted to be a stockbroker, but an internship, once again, kind of changed the way your life was cruising. Can you share with us about that?
Yeah. So I got to the end of my, senior year, and I'm looking at all the requirements. I met with my counselor to see what I needed to do to graduate, and he told me I needed an internship to graduate, and that was news to me. And so I was out there scrambling, trying to find an internship with a stockbroker house, and of course they didn't have any. And I ended up, by calling a lot of people, I ended up getting an internship with a commercial real estate brokerage firm. I didn't even know what commercial real estate was, but I needed the internship, and I got in there, and long story short, I had a knack for selling, and the guy who had me as his internship, told me, you've got a knack for this, you can relate well with these tenants, and I'd love for you to stay on after the internship. And so I shifted gears again. I saw a check come across his desk one day. It was for like $7,000, and I had made $7,000 the entire year washing windows. And I remember me and my wife laying in bed. I told her about that check, and we sat up there and just dreamed about what we would do if we could get a $7,000 check, and all of our problems would be solved. And so I went for it, and ended up having a knack for it. And 20 years later in commercial real estate, I was number one in the country for a top 5 real estate firm several times, and did really well with it, and it provided for my family, and it opened the door to a lot of the other businesses that I eventually got into.
Well, and see, I think that is what's so inspiring is there. If we think there's a ceiling, there is. But if we're willing to work hard, get creative, take opportunities that were unexpected, doors, windows can open. And you had to step into discovering the man that you wanted to be. I know you saw from a high school relationship what a good family looked like. So the day that you met your wife, and as you started to create your family of 3 boys, you knew what you wanted. And I think you also saw the negatives of your grandfather and Jim. And I mean, you made a vow to not drink. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw, and I did drink, and I had my issues with it, but I saw what a huge problem drinking was, and how it turned, good people into bad people. And I saw the worst when people were drinking. I mean, specifically with Jim, he was a reasonable guy when he wasn't drinking, but as soon as he started to drink, that's when I saw, the evil come out in him. And so, I never wanted that for me or for my family. And when I did drink, I saw some of that. So, I didn't want that to be part of my life.
Yeah. And we are here on the Living Full Out show. We are talking about ambition in life. And I'm just curious, what advice do you have for our audience who may feel stuck, who may feel like, well, he had all the good breaks. He got lucky, right? I'm not lucky. Yeah. And you were not lucky. You did a lot of hard work to get to where you are. What piece of advice do you have for our audience?
Yeah, it's funny that you said luck, because that's the name of my book is called the Unlucky Sperm Club, and it comes out in November. And and what I talk about in that book is we create our own luck. What I would say to people is any dream that you can dream, if you have enough time and enough energy and enough focus, you can accomplish that dream. And a lot of times we don't even realize what we can accomplish as we become that better version of ourselves. We need to just get started. As I sit here 20 years later after accomplishing my first big goal, I couldn't even have imagined this life that I'm living. when I set that first goal. And I think a lot of people are like that. We have so much potential inside of us that's just sitting there waiting for us to take action to release that potential. And I would say get started. Many people...
I love that, Nelson. I mean, right there, that's just a lot to gobble down, but great advice. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your words of wisdom and your inspiration. And we're going to keep wishing you all the best and super proud of you, Nelson, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And for everybody, gosh, if you have an inspirational story, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. Our entire Living Full Out family, thanks you for listening. It's all about living full out, having that ambition. We look forward to seeing you on the next show. Go to livingfullout.com to hear this episode again. Here's to you living your life full out.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, Jacqueline.
Yes, Mom?
I wanted to talk to you about something, and... Oh, wait. Hold on. I just got a text.
Oh, wait, Mom. I just got a message. So many comments on my comment.
Hey, guys, check out my new video game.
Mom, what?
Huh?
What'd you say?
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Thanks for asking, but I'd rather not send you nude pictures. I'm camera shy. I already said no. It's against my religion. I'm giving my dog a bath. You can have pictures of that. Pressure gives me hives. Under my clothes, I'm a robot. Hold on, let me ask my mom. Sorry, my webcam is broken. I'm worried they'll get passed around school. Unfortunately, I just had my clothes surgically attached to my body. If they got out, I might never be president. I'm already naked, under my clothes. Not even if you were all three Jonas Brothers. I have a rash. I have nudophobia. I have lizard skin. The more you ask, the less I want to. You're not the boss of me. Nudity makes me vomit. I'm a vampire, so I don't show up in pictures anyways. Your badgering has really killed the mood.
When someone is pressuring you to do something you don't want to, how many ways can you say no before they get the message? Let us know at that'snotcool.com. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
Football
I want to be
stadium.
a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
What? What about our plan to win the lottery and start living? You know, travel the world on matching yachts, wear enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacation on the French Riviera, and then buy it.
You know we're never going to win the lottery, right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When it comes to being ambitious in life, you want to have a balance of planning and taking risks. And when you put them together, now you're out there doing it. You're taking action. Whether you're stepping, leaping, or running, it's just about going for it. That is what it means to live full out.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. Nancy is here as a guide to show you how to rise above obstacles and savor each moment. If you have a question, call in live at 800-333-0001. That's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out show. And today we've been talking about having ambition in life. And you want to dream big. You want to go big, 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 super big, galaxy big, and shoot for the stars. Because if it's anything less than that, that's okay too. But if you dream small, then you're always going to wonder, what if? What if I dreamed bigger? What could have been behind door number 3? What if I had taken that job in that city far away? And what I encourage you to do is not live in the gray zone. Not in the woulda, coulda, shoulda, the what if zone. That's a dangerous, dangerous neighborhood, right? You want to try things. And if you try something and it doesn't work out, well, you can self-correct and go another direction. It is in the mistakes, it's in the times we fail, it's in the times that we even have felt let down by people that we actually grow, we survive, we realize a new dream, a new opportunity. And you always want to be eyes and ears wide open, because sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's a knock. Opportunity knocks, right? We've heard that. So it's just about being aware of what is possible. And again, dreaming big. Now, we're going to go to the phone lines. Our producer has a listener for us. Hi, welcome to Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy. This is Michaela.
Hi, Michaela. How can I help you?
Yeah, so I have a question. School just started, and I find myself being extremely anxious, managing everything. Do you have any advice on how I could better calm my anxiety?
I think it's a great question. So many people right now are on pins and needles, or they just feel a bit deflated because it's just, there's so much work, right? But I am curious, so what is the one thing that keeps you up at night the most?
I think mostly like meeting deadlines, trying to get everything sorted out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you have a deadline, are you someone who tends to plan ahead, execute right on point, or procrastinate?
Sometimes I procrastinate.
Okay. Now, the thing about life is it's really important moments like this. Moments that we feel stressed, because it will not always be this way. I promise you, down the line, there's going to be a time that you sleep peacefully. Maybe it's when you got the dream job you want, the relationship you want, or just these deadlines are off your plate. There will be a time where it's more calm. But what you want to look at is when you're kind of at its epic time in life, where you're stressed out, you're overcommitted, you want to look at what you do well and what you don't do well. And whatever you do well at, celebrate that. Whatever you don't do well at, let that be, okay, here's where the learning curve begins. And trust me, I've procrastinated as well, although what I learned, ironically, people would now say, Nancy, you're the biggest planner I know. And the reason why that is, 2 reasons. Number 1, I had procrastinated a ton when I was back in college. Lots going on, social, right, school. I put myself through school working, and I did procrastinate. And enough grades where I knew I could have done better, enough times where I was stressed, racing the class, those are like little stings, not quite like a bee sting, but a little, right? Little wake up, right? So those are good. Those are good moments. So what you want to look at is you want to say, okay, how can I protect myself from not being a procrastinator? Maybe I can't do everything a week in advance, but maybe I can shift my schedule. Like, when do I function better? Am I a night owl or a morning person? And you want to look at these projects, the ones that you put off, the ones that seem to be the hardest, and you want to tackle them sooner, a day sooner, a week sooner, because you might need to start it, walk away. Start it, walk away. But it's just kind of finding a new flow. Can you try that with your schedule?
Yeah.
Now, I realize all those words don't make the stresses magically disappear, but you also have to be careful to give them too much power. This is just a time in your life, but this time will pass. Okay? Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, we have loved having you as part of the show, and I hope that you're more ambitious now than you were when you started. We want you to go out there and just live a big life, smile on your face, on point, but we realize there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be bad days, there's going to be times that you knew or wish you could have done better. But take those moments and run with them. Take them as life lessons, because you got this. You can live full out. No one has anything better than you, better skills, better attitude. You're awesome just as you are. The Living Full Out family thanks you for listening today. Go to livingfullout.com if you want to hear today's show again, or if you have Alexa, or if you want to go to the App Store, just look for Living Full Out Radio. Here's to you living your life full out.
Thank you for listening to the Living Full Out Show with Nancy Solari. To learn more about this program, visit livingfullout.com for the latest episodes. Connect with the Living Full Out community by following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you have an inspirational story you want to share, email us at connect@livingfullout.com. Here's to you, living full out.